Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. Once again, welcome to this new geopolitical conference dedicated to current world events. At the forefront of international news, France is very upset about what is happening in Madagascar, knowing that its interests are being disrupted. France is raising the tone. Yes, a statement from the Quai d'Orsay is trying to put tremendous pressure on the new Malagasy authorities. However, Madagascar does not want to give in. Madagascar is obviously not ready to be dragged around by France. The response they gave to France, especially to Emmanuel Macron, was a shocking one. A response that France could not have expected. Yes, it was unimaginable. Ladies and gentlemen, in this geopolitical conference, this is the current event we are going to discuss. Of course, before we continue, please share the conference as much as possible. Give it plenty of hearts, plenty of likes. And don't forget to leave your feedback in the comments. And if you're new here, make sure to click the subscribe button. Subscribe. This allows you to never miss out on world news. So let's dive deep. Let's go deeper. It's a diplomatic clash between French demands and Malagasy pride. It's a diplomatic shock. France is raising its voice and demanding the restoration of constitutional order. France demands a swift return to constitutional order. While Madagascar does not officially belong to France, it must be emphatically stated that Madagascar's geographical position is indeed very strategically important. There you have it. It is a truly natural and formidable naval base situated in the vast Indian Ocean, perfectly located between the French Overseas Department of Mayotte and the beautiful island of Réunion. So it's even a bit closer to France's sphere of influence, as you can imagine. So France still considers Madagascar as its own backyard. France is afraid, very, very afraid of losing Madagascar as it lost Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso. And the Sahel syndrome is starting to appear in Madagascar as well. So that's when France issues a firm statement. It was the Quai d'Orsay that released the statement. Paris is calling on Antananarivo to return to constitutional order. And Paris denounces a troubling break with democratic principles. That is to say, for President Macron, what is currently happening in the nation of Madagascar is indeed a deeply troubling and significant break. It represents a truly troubling and fundamental break with established democratic principles and essential norms. Yes, it's a troubling break. And so, in light of this situation, France wants Madagascar to return to reconnect with democratic principles. And I told you here that generally, when these people talk about democratic principles, what are they really talking about? They're talking about principles that suit them. When they talk about returning to constitutional order, what they really mean is that they're going to put their own man at the head of the state. But in this case, the one who came in, the comrade, I think it's Michael, the one who came, he's not on their side. He comes from the people, from the common folk. No one put him there. That's it. It was the people who cheered him on, who put him there. Which means that's what bothers them. And the guy comes in with a sovereignist mindset. So the Quai d'Orsay is uncomfortable. But already Macron is under pressure. In response to criticism in Europe, Emmanuel Macron is trying to show that he still has control over his former sphere of influence, since people have started to criticize him saying, yes, he's losing Madagascar again. In less than how many years in office, how many former territories in Africa has he made France lose? So, faced with these criticisms, he wants to show that he still has a grip on Madagascar. And that's what shocks the new Malagasy authorities. Well, we say Malagasy, but the new authorities pronounce it Malagache. I don't even know how we're supposed to pronounce it anymore. If the authorities themselves, even the citizens of the country, say Malagache and we start saying Malagache too, then I don't know what we're supposed to choose. Let me know in the comments. So it should be said that this statement, this press release from the Quai d'Orsay, is a statement marked by caution, by real caution, a strategic caution. So France condemns without direct sanctions, since for now, at least at the time I'm recording this talk, no sanctions have been imposed by France. Yet usually when there is such a coup d'etat, sanctions are automatically imposed. So no sanctions have been taken for the moment. This means that France wants to remain somewhat cautious, and France believes it can negotiate with the new authorities so that it can continue to feel comfortable. Let me inform you, for those who haven't followed this news that we've discussed here, France owns a lot of assets. It owns a lot of assets in Madagascar. France has invested economically in Madagascar. This is France's real concern. So France doesn't want to lose all of that. And so it must be said, Antananarivo has responded. And it was first one of the CAPSAT advisors who responded. He said this. He said, France must respect the sovereignty of Madagascar. So concretely, this is a scathing response from a CAPSAT advisor. And here, France must remember that Madagascar is no longer a colony. France for the French, and Malagasy sovereignty for the Malagasy. Here is the thunderous, scathing reply. Let me repeat it. France must remember that Madagascar is no longer a colony. France for the French, and Malagasy sovereignty for the Malagasy. So here is the answer. Madagascar is no longer a colony. France for the French. So France should take care of its own problems in France. Madagascar or Malagasy. So the transitional government asserts that no foreign power has the right to dictate the pace of national reconstruction in Madagascar. And this resonates positively with popular support. Many civic movements and young officers are denouncing colonial pressure. So this is a warning being sent to Paris. There you have it. French influence is truly at stake in the Indian Ocean. This is a warning that the youth have just given to Paris. So the worst part is that right now, there is outside interest. China and Russia are eyeing Madagascar very closely. According to some sources, China and Russia have even started to propose military cooperation with Madagascar. However, France is very attached to Madagascar. But already, the French dilemma is that if France decides to intervene politically, France will lose face. That's it. If France intervenes politically, it will lose face. It will be forced to remain silent because the Malagasy authorities will make the situation worse. This response they just gave, these young people, they are now going to take concrete actions against France. And so France is in a dilemma. Should they remain silent? Or should they intervene politically? What remains clear is that Emmanuel Macron is watching his former backyard slip away little by little. So ladies and gentlemen, that was today's headline news. Thank you very much for sharing it. I'll be back with more news updates. This was the voice of your humble servant, the Samurai.